Okay, let's dive into a really fascinating part of law enforcement in Thailand. It's complex, sometimes controversial, definitely worth looking at.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking about an agency that does a bit of everything, really. Guarding royalty 1 minute, handling paperwork the next.
Exactly. So today we're going to unpack the Special Branch Bureau, the SBB. We've got quite a bit of source material here.
That's right. And our goal is to sort of sift through it all and give you a clear picture. What are its core functions, its history, maybe some surprising things that jump out from the sources.
Perfect. So, first things first, what is the SBB? Let's start there.
Okay, so its official Thai name,
Mm.
and apologies for my pronunciation, is uncut. Uncut, uncut.
Right.
But thankfully for us, everyone just calls it the SBB.
SBB. Much easier.
Yeah.
And where does it fit in the big picture of Thai government?
The sources make it clear it's a national law enforcement agency, so it operates across Thailand,
Okay.
and it falls under the Royal Thai Police, the RTP.
Ah, okay. Part of the main police force then.
Yeah, its headquarters is actually right there with the RTP headquarters, Pathum Wan, Bangkok.
So it's basically a local civilian police agency, just with a national reach, not like a separate spy agency or military unit.
That's the picture the sources paint. Civilian police. They even mention the current head police, LTJ Apachart Pechprazit, the commissioner. So yeah, definitely within the standard police structure.
That context is important, I think, especially given some of the things they do.
It is. It shapes how you understand its role.
So how did it start? What are its origins?
Well, the sources pinpoint the date quite precisely. 17 November 1932.
1932. Wow, that goes way back. Thai solar calendar year 2475, the sources say.
Exactly. And it was set up by a royal decree, King Prajatapak.
Okay.
And that was based on advice from the House of Representatives at the time.
Interesting. And it wasn't just some small unit initially.
No, the sources actually mention it was divided into 4 divisions right from the get-go.
4 divisions, right at the start, suggests they had a pretty clear idea of its structure, didn't they?
Seems like it. Planned out.
Okay, so let's get into the core of it. What does the SBB actually do day to day? The sources list quite a few things.
They really do. It's multifaceted. The main responsibilities listed are counterintelligence,
Right.
executive protection, and gathering intelligence on national security threats,
Yeah.
specifically threats that fall under police authority.
Okay, counterintelligence, national security intel. That makes sense for a special branch. But executive protection, let's unpack that a bit. Who are they protecting?
The sources are really specific on this.
Okay.
A major function is security for the king, the queen, and the entire royal family.
The whole royal family. That's a huge responsibility.
It is. And beyond the royals, they also provide protection for other VIPs.
VIPs like government officials or visiting dignitaries, maybe?
The sources don't specify which VIPs, just VIPs generally. And interestingly, they mention a specific tactical unit for this.
Oh.
Yeah, called the Black Tiger. It's apparently under SBB control, specifically for VIP protection operations.
Black Tiger. Sounds pretty serious.
It does. And the sources add they don't do this alone. They work alongside the Bangkok Metropolitan Police and the Armed Forces Security Center.
So it's a coordinated effort for that high-level protection.
Seems so, yes.
Okay, so that's the protection side. What about the intelligence gathering? What kind of threats are we talking about?
The sources say they act on intelligence about people or groups. Basically, anyone seen as a threat to national security.
Mm-hmm.
They're tasked with controlling what the sources call subversive activities. It positions them as the main counterintelligence body for the Thai police.
Controlling subversive activities, counterintelligence. Yeah, that fits the expected role. But the sources mention some other functions too, right? Things that seem, well, a bit different.
Yes. This is where it gets quite interesting, actually. One of the most maybe surprising things in the material.
Go on.
They handle administrative matters related to citizenship.
Citizenship, like applying for it, or
The example given specifically in the source is the renunciation of Thai nationality.
renouncing citizenship. That seems really bureaucratic compared to counterterrorism or protecting the king.
Doesn't it? It's quite a jump. And here's another one that might affect, people listening who live in or visit Thailand.
Okay.
If you're a foreign national living in Thailand and you need a Thai police clearance certificate.
Yeah. Like for a visa or a job.
Exactly. The sources say you go to the SBB office to get that.
Wow. Okay, hold on. So the same agency dealing with like national security threats and royal protection is also handling police clearance paperwork for foreigners.
According to the sources, yes. It
Yeah.
really shows how integrated they are, doesn't it? From high-level security right down to um, individual administrative tasks.
That's genuinely surprising. It paints a picture of an agency with a very, very wide reach within the state system.
Absolutely. But going back to the more serious side of things, the sources also list their responsibility for other major cases.
Right, things that endanger national security.
Yes. They explicitly mention lèse majesté.
Okay, the laws about insulting the monarchy.
Right. Also terrorism and cases involving political protests.
So, quite a spectrum again. From admin for foreigners right up to terrorism and politically sensitive cases like lèse majesté and protests.
It really highlights their kind of unique position, doesn't it? Bridging these big security concerns with certain civil admin functions and specific types of criminal investigations.
You mentioned it started with 4 divisions. Do the sources give any detail on its current structure?
They do. Under the organization section in the material, they list a few components.
Such as?
Let's see. General Staff Division, Special Branch Division 1, Special Branch Division 2, Division 3, Division 4.
Okay, so multiple operational divisions.
Yeah, and also an Intelligence Development Center.
Intelligence development suggests a focus on training or analysis, maybe?
Could be. The structure seems to point towards, both admin support and specialized intelligence work across different areas.
Okay. Now, let's shift a bit to the historical context. And the sources do mention some controversies, which we should probably address.
Yes, definitely. There's a note about the Cold War era.
Right. They worked with Malaysia.
Yeah, the sources say the SBB worked with the Malaysian Special Branch during the Cold War. So a history of regional cooperation there.
But then there's the more critical perspective mentioned in the sources. Some critics apparently call it the political police.
That's reported in the material, yes.
Mm.
The claim presented from critics is that the agency has been promoted or used as a way to handle political opposition.
And we need to be clear, this is a viewpoint presented in the sources describing how some critics see the agency.
Exactly. We're reporting what the sources say about these criticisms.
And this seems linked to some election stuff mentioned in the material.
It does seem to connect, yeah. The sources talk about a media revelation before the 2007 general election.
What was that?
Apparently, the SBB had run its own opinion poll to, figure out the likely election results.
An intelligence agency doing election polling. You can see why that might raise eyebrows.
And according to the sources, it did. Then, before the 2011 election, there were similar stories.
And how did the SBB respond then?
Well, the sources state that the SBB described its activity not as a poll, but as a study. So different characterizations.
Interesting. So the sources report both the incidents and the agency's response or framing of it.
Correct. And then there's a much darker historical event that the sources detail, the Red Drum killings.
Right. This sounds incredibly serious. What do the sources say happened?
It's a very disturbing account. The material reports that during the Cold War, under Prime Minister Thanom Kittikachorn's administration, SBB officers were involved.
Involved in what way?
The sources state that 3,008 people accused of being pro-communist were killed by being burned in 200-liter red drums.
Burned. Alive.
The sources specify, either alive or semi-conscious.
That's horrifying. And directly attributed to SBB officers in the sources we looked at.
That's what the material states, yes. It's a stark and tragic part of the historical context presented.
It certainly adds a very heavy dimension to the agency's history, as reported in these documents.
It really underscores that, according to the sources, the agency's past includes involvement in extremely controversial and violent events during times of, intense political upheaval.
The sources also touch briefly on the SBB's stated mission and strategy. Does it line up with what we've discussed?
Pretty much, yeah. It covers acting on intelligence, working within the national security strategy, protecting important people and places.
The VIP and or royal protection stuff.
Exactly. Also implementing laws like the nationality laws we mentioned, ensuring royal family safety, counterintelligence, intelligence gathering on threats, and training staff. It's like a summary of their operational goals based on the source list.
Okay, so let's try and pull this all together. After going through all this source material, what's the overall picture of the SBB that emerges?
I think what really stands out is just how complex and wide-ranging it is. Based purely on these sources, you have an agency operating at the very highest levels, protecting the monarchy, counterintelligence.
Yeah, the really sensitive stuff.
Right, but also handling these very specific, almost mundane administrative tasks. Things like citizenship renunciations, police clearances for foreigners. It's quite the mix.
And the sources definitely highlight that tension, don't they? Between the official security job and these historical controversies, the political police allegations, the red drum killings.
Exactly. The material paints a picture of an agency that's like deeply woven into the Thai state. It has these critical security roles, but also this history involving significant controversy and violence, according to the sources. Its reach is remarkable, from the king down to a foreigner needing paperwork.
So why should you, listening now, care about understanding an agency like the SBB? What's the takeaway here?
Well, I think it gives you real insight into how state security actually works in a country like Thailand.
Yeah.
Beyond just the headlines.
Right.
When you look at its official jobs, these surprising admin roles, and then the history and criticisms presented in the sources, it helps you understand the mechanics of government.
And it might even affect you directly if you're living there or visiting, needing that police check, for instance.
For sure. So whether you live there, visit, or are just interested in how states function, the SBB's story, as told in these sources, is pretty revealing.
Okay. So, summing up from our source material today, the Special Branch Bureau, a unique entity blending top-tier executive protection, national security intelligence, and these administrative functions touching everyone from royalty to expats.
A very broad mandate, definitely, as the sources show.
Which kind of leaves us with a final thought, pulling directly from what we've looked at. Given the SBB's critical security role, protecting the monarchy and handling threats, what does its sheer range, stretching all the way to citizenship, paperwork, and police checks, tell us about its actual position and influence within the Thai state?
Yeah, it's a good question. How does an agency doing that high-level security work also end up handling such, ground-level admin, and how does it navigate the kind of heavy historical controversies that our sources describe? Says a lot about its integration, perhaps. Something to think about.